Okay, June 2000, crazy game alert. Okay, this is 2 times speed again, just to I guess speed it up. And again, so you're gonna hear some odd sound effects. I do apologise for that. This is one of the, I think, one of my first games that I ever played, which was an RTS. I probably played something on the BBC Micro, or God knows what, previously, but this is certainly the first one where I was consciously aware I was being a supreme general. So just going to play first two missions of this. This is all in one video. Again, you can hear the crazy voices. But I really like this one. I think I'm a big fan of the Dune franchise in general. I think I must have read all the books good few times now, and I did like the stylization. I think as a game, Dune 2, the original, which this isn't, this is the remake of that, was very good, but it was incredibly clunky. And I did a video of it, but difficult to really get anything from it because it's a very kind of, as I said, clunky game. This is probably not much better, but it's a bit more visually, I would say, appealing. I think one of the games I probably will play a bit more of is Dune, Emperor Battle for Dune. I think that was, to me, that was probably one of the better ones. Again, because I think it was starting to draw, I think, some of the kind of wider concepts of RPGs as they are today into this. So you had like support, you had more of a campaign focus, so if you did well in a previous mission, you had those units available to you in this mission, and so on. And I really like that. I thought that was a very well done. Playing as Atreides, I don't know, I always seem to play the good guys. The Harkonnens are obviously the bad guys, and the Ordos are completely fictitious, therefore they do not appear in my mind. They don't appear in the books anywhere. But I understood, you know, you need that kind of third person. The Atreides, just so you are aware, they're obviously the good guys, House Atreides. Yeah, just turn the music down. The House Atreides are the kind of good guys, and they are pretty much who the books focus around. The Harkonnens are their mortal enemies. Now, if you haven't seen the film Dune, you probably have no idea what's going on. If you've never read the books, again, you're missing out. So I would just strongly recommend, just read Dune, the original book, if you're going to read anything. But if you do, try and watch the David Fincher movie. It is just a classic. It was one of these films that I think massively over budget, massively over scope. But thank God he did it, because it's all, there's a worm there. It's probably going to kill me. Yep, there we go. And there we go. Deary me. Oh, and I just lost some troops. But so again, I just loved it. This whole kind of concept of, you know, mining spice, having to avoid worms. Fantastic. You couldn't ask for a better game. But yeah, the David Fincher film is just unmissable if you've never seen it, just because it is, I think, true sci-fi. If you're a real fan of the genre and you've not seen Dune, you're missing out, because it really is, I think, a true classic of what I think sci-fi certainly can do. There's many different edits of it as well. Again, I could talk forever and a day about it, but there's a number of edits which closely follow the books, but these were seen as kind of not particularly viewer friendly, so they recut it again to the cinema, I guess the released version, which is probably a bit easier to follow because there's less of the kind of crazy kind of backdrop of it. I like it though. I think the whole premise that, you know, humanity is 10,000 years in the future. This substance spice is only found on planet Arrakis, which is where we are now. And this is why everybody's fighting, because it's like, you know, the spice must flow. It is the primary resource of the world, and the reason being is that spice prolongs your life. So if you take it, you have visions. It's also the ability to fold space, so the whole guild of space travelers have become dependent upon it, because it gives them the ability to basically warp space. And I loved it. I thought, there's not enough sci-fi like that. I think, you know, there's just some really good, good kind of story going on here. I think they did something like maybe a good dozen books as well, and they went all the way into the future and then they actually went into the past as well, because again, the backstory to Dune is absolutely brilliant. And I did some traveling a long time ago, a few years ago, and I had the 3 prequel books, which people kind of poo-pooed, dare I say, as not being particularly good. And I read all 3 of them in a row, and I was just blown away. They are a bit more kind of comic book sci-fi, but the premise is that, you know, humanity was fighting against a robot AI. And it was this kind of civilization that humanity had created that had then, you know, taken over. And I just was blown away by how well written it was, and it was actually Frank Herbert's son, I think Brian Herbert. So again, just if you ever have a spare few days and you fancy reading some incredibly good sci-fi, then the prequels to Dune are just so good. I would highly recommend them. And I think this is why, I think particularly when it comes to games like this, I do play them again just because it is always good to see them. But there aren't enough games like this. They need to do another Dune. I know they keep doing kind of Command and Conquer, which I get it. That's what people are more interested in. But I just think there's such scope here to do, with all the modern platforms that we've got. I just think you could do such a good Dune game. It would be just... Okay, so last sweep. Let's go and kill some Harkonnens. There's a worm there. As you can see, pretty much the trikes just blap anything that gets in their way. That's awesome. I think I quite like the units as well. I mean, again, I think some of the kind of features of the game was very, very well done, like the ability to buy from the black market and buy from like spacing guilds, and that was really nicely done. But again, the thing with these games is they just become a thing of numbers. Whoever's got the most numbers. So what I do now is I basically just go on this mass kind of rampage to build units, and I kind of miss the tactics side of these kind of I guess the further games that come from this, because there's very little tactics in this. It's basically, if A is greater than B, A wins, which I guess is the way it goes. So what I'm doing here is just mopping up the last few Harkonnens. And I'm now building trikes for my factory. That's pretty cool. I've run out of power, that's not good. You can see here, again, I think the user interface was pretty terrible, but again, compared to the original Dune 2 interface, it's a bit better. That one, you had to select each building and then say what you want to build from that building, so it just became a click nightmare. But it was fun, again, I'm not going to diss it, but, I think it was, to me, it was almost like the prototype of this kind of game. And I just still play these kind of things. I mean, recently I probably played all the kind of Command and Conquer, and the Red Alert and so on, and I think they've definitely refined certainly the UI. They've certainly refined the way that the combat works. But these games are kind of where I guess they led into StarCraft and that kind of thing, which I think I love StarCraft very much, but it's just such a difficult game to enjoy. You're playing at such a manic speed, and it's kind of a constant hassle and worry. You can see here what I've done. I've just got together pretty much a posse. I'm just going to go and roll on the Harkonnen base. And this is pretty much it, really. Game over from this point. As long as we can take out the defences, it becomes a pretty much one-sided battle. You can see here, just camping the base, we'll start to blow some stuff up. Oops, selected the harvester there. So let's send them down as well. Now, I've just noticed the Harkonnens are hitting my base with a sneak attack up ahead. But hey, that's not... all the worms helping me there, that's great. So let's just finish off their base. And then they is done. Boom. So again, wind traps there, obviously straight from the books. That's what they did for power. I am an incredible Dune nerd, I must admit. I'd love to sort of read more about the lore of it. They don't really talk too much about the lore of... there we go, just mopping them up. And there we go, mission accomplished. So that was Dune 2000. Hope you enjoyed it. I might play a bit more of this, we'll see. See you next time.